Perfect. Thank you. Hello, good evening. My name is Patricia Molnar, and I'm working for Exness also as a product lead. And today evening, I'm going to speak about the magic of decomposition, or how to cut your stakeholder wishes. But before we jump in, let me introduce you Stephen. Stephen is our stakeholder for today, or client. I'm going to use it as a synonyms. Let's see if Stephen has any requirements for today. And through his wishes, through his requirements, we're going to understand the whole topic, how to manage his requirements, how to prioritize, how to understand, and how to deliver him value. So let's see if he has any requirements. Yes, of course he has. So please just put an extra field on the fourth screen at the website. It's super easy. It can be done within an hour, and you can deploy it to production. You even can have a coffee, easy peasy, right? So what we have business requirements, we have timeline, and we have a reasonable deliverable plan, because we can do it within an hour, and we can still have time for coffee, right? No. So what else he wants? You can put this field anywhere, but please let's be somewhere at the middle. I know that there are already some fields, but please don't mess up the design, because we spend so much on this design. Okay, so if the user is coming to this field, I want the user to put their favorite fruit here. It can be banana, it can be kiwi, or it can be apple. Or to be honest, maybe there are some users who have some different favorite food. So let's say it's a drop down with a free option, so they can put there anything. Okay. And of course, when the same user is coming back to the same page, then the system will understand and remember that this user was here before. So of course, I don't want the car to see that Diana before put their coconut. I'm not even sure the coconut is the fruit, but never mind, system will know it anyway. So it's obvious. To put it into report, of course, we have to put it into report, all of the report. Why would I ask our clients for their favorite fruit if I don't want to put it into the report, etc., etc., etc. So I'm sure that every one of us met with Stephen before, or at some part of our career, we have been Stephen before. So how we should manage all these wishes? Should we deliver everything, right, one after another? Should we prioritize? Should we differentiate them, etc., etc.? Yes, we definitely should. First of all, first and foremost, we have to understand the goal and then the expected result. Why? Because in some cases, the stakeholders or the client thinks that they know what they need, but sometimes they don't. Just imagine that the client has been in a fancy conference, they've seen a fancy report or a dashboard, and they want them. It's not giving the result, it's not fulfilling their requirements, but they want it. It's definitely not what we need to deliver. Let's say that for this presentation, we are living in a very ideal world. And let's say that Stephen is aware what he wants and knows what he wants and why he wants and what is the expected result, because I could speak 20 more minutes only about this. Then we need to identify every wishes, everything, separate what is needed, what is not, then decompose, and then deliver. And if we are following all these steps, we can make sure that we can deliver results and valuable product for Stephen. And we have an agenda for today. So let's jump in. It's just a recap to remember the wishes. All of the wishes, what we said, with some stupid requirements at the very end. I see that some of you making pictures, so that's why I'm keeping it. Okay, let's just organize them in a way how it's more understandable and list all of the options. Why we need to list all of the requirements. All of them. I mean, sometimes it's the most important what was said in the kitchen or in the elevator, because sometimes the client thinks that they know their problem, but it's not always the case that they know their problem. So we have to decide that what we have to deliver. What is the most important? Let's ask Stephen, but in the majority of the cases, if we are asking this question from the client, we will receive this answer. Everything is the most important, which is fine, because usually they are salespeople, decision makers, etc. They want their product to get done. So what else we can do to help him? There are some methods which I would never recommend. I want to mention them, not to work with it. I work with both. So the first one is the so-called grass cutter method, which means that everything which happened in the elevator, we don't need. Everything which is happened in the kitchen, we don't need. Everything which is happened after we said that our capacity is full, it's don't need it. It's definitely not the very best way how we should manage the stakeholder wishes. The second thing is about kind of trying to understand and estimate it on a high level. For example, using t-shirt sizes S, M, L, XL, XXL, etc. What is the estimated delivery time for the feature? So selecting those ones which are bigger than L and then just canceling them. Definitely, this is not a good case either. Just imagine the situation that you have 8 features, which are super small, very tiny ones, shiny ones, fancy ones, and we have 2 big fat features. We're delivering the 8, and then a project manager would say that 8 out of 10 is done, so 80% is done. Sorry if someone is a project manager here. And then we forget about the 2 big ones. No, it's definitely not. Maybe that one big fat feature is the one we need, and the rest of the 8 small features just like making it polish a little bit the product itself. So if not these 2, then what? One of my favorite one, and this is what I'm going to talk about this one today, is the Moscow technique. This is the simplest, the easiest, and this is the most common one, which everyone can understand. It can be a salesperson, a finance person, it can be a technical guy, a decision maker, super easy to understand. What you have to follow, you need to understand what you must have, what you should have, could have, and what you definitely won't have. If you are following these 4 steps, you will understand what you need to deliver, and you slightly already have the priority itself. So with our small example with the banana and the kiwi, what we definitely must have is having the drop down with the 3 options. We don't have on stock anything else than these 3 fruits. So why we would ask the people what are their preference on any other fruits if we don't even have it? And of course, we need to create some extra report at the back office, for example, for the guys who will making decision based on it. What we should have is to extend this drop-down list with this free option, which means that we can create forecasts. So out of these 3 main fruits, what we are selling, there is a free option. So in the next season, when kiwi and pineapple is not in stock anymore, then we can have this free option for the rest of the clients. And then, of course, we can send out some emails with the price. What we could have is to connecting everything together with the stock system also. So very good. Now we have the requirements. We know what we have to deliver. Now we only have to deliver it. But how? We have to decompose the requirements. Why we have to decompose the requirements, and why is it that important? It's because bigger the feature, the more people can interpret in more and more and more ways. What does it mean? I think you all know this kid game, when 10 kids are standing next to each other, and then the first one is whispering something into the second one's ear, and then the second one, and the third one, and fourth one, and then you're asking from the 10th one, what was the initial sentence and the message? And in the majority of the cases, it will be completely different. Just imagine the whole thing in a company environment, that you were missed a meeting, you were not there, you are a technical person, so you were taking care of the technical issues, you are a business person, you don't like this feature, you don't like that person. So I'm sure that as many people were sitting in the same meeting and we were discussing one big feature, they were understanding it many ways. So that's why we have to do the decomposition to manage the complexity and build up a modular design which can be reused. And then in this case, all the teams can collaborate. So if there is a complex big feature, sometimes multiple teams can work parallelly on it, which is of course beneficial for the client and for the company. But how we should do the decomposition? You should definitely invest in a good user story. What does it mean, investing in a good user story? Well, each and every letter, it stands for let's say, advice. So the good user story has to be independent. What does it mean? If after the deployment, the production deployment, the apocalypse coming, and then the word is over, the product should work. This is what this means independent. So if the user story is delivered, the product should work. Negotiable is my favorite one. It means that when you're creating a user story, you're just leaving some room for the testers, for the developers, for the designers, for the BSAs to figuring out from their perspective how they should manage, how they should deliver that specific acceptance criteria. I really like this one. Some project lets you to do it more. Some project lets you to skip it completely, but I really like this one. Of course, the user story has to be valuable and estimatable to be able to estimate the entire project, super small and testable. And an extra tip is the user story should avoid horizontal slices. So if we go back to the example with the banana, if you are creating a user story that client can, for example, client can select out of 3 options, then it means that client will be able to select from 3 options. Is it good for your stakeholder? No, it's not good, because when the apocalypse is coming, then you will have a field where you can select from 3 options, and then what? Nothing. So to avoid this, you have to create vertical slices, which means that you have to touch each and every architectural layer. Means in this small example with banana, client can select from 3 options, and it's already saved. It's not gonna be beautiful, but we are keeping it somewhere at the background. There is no back office display, there is nothing. But you will have one developer who can extract this data, and then in this case, you can send out those emails to promote your product. And last but not least, we have to deliver and gather feedback. So during the demo day, you have to collect every stakeholder, even if they were just participating on the kickoff meeting, you have to collect every stakeholder and show them what you have done and tell them what you're going to do in the upcoming 2 weeks or whatever is the period. My advice is to have it as frequent as possible and listen to their feedback. Because in the original project management, how is it working? You have a kickoff documentation, you are starting the project, and then it's estimated for 6 months, and then the 6th month you are delivering the product. What can happen? The market change, your client change, the environment change, the budget change. A lot of things can change, and maybe at the end of the 6 months you are standing there and no one needs your product. So my advice is to have the demo session as frequent as possible and then collect these feedbacks. So after 2 weeks, you're asking your stakeholders, what do you think about the product? Maybe they will say, I was in a conference, I was checking the benchmark, and we need this and this instead of that and that, and it's fine. So on this demo session, you collect all of these and maybe on this demo session, you can use Moscow again to decide which you must have. If it is tiny thing, you can put it into the next sprint. If it is something bigger and you need analysis, for example, then you can prioritize it with the Moscow. And basically that's it, how you can make sure that your stakeholders, you are not only managing your stakeholder, but you're engaging your stakeholders, and they will love the product, and at the end they will really use your product. So in a nutshell, you have to identify the stakeholder wishes, cut and prioritize. In some cases, it can be vice versa or coming together in a round, and then prioritize and then decompose. There is a good quote from Warren Buffett that risk comes from not knowing what you are doing. And I'm quite sure that if you are following this, not only you gonna know what you are doing, but the entire team and your stakeholder. And I'm sure that if you are following that, your Stephen is also gonna be this happy, and our Stephen for now. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Patricia. It was a great talk.
Hello, this was a very nice presentation. But can I ask one thing? During phase when you are decided to decomposite the features, how do you get rid of features if they have different value? For example, one feature is having value like in money, and second is in company respect, for example.
Thank you for your question. I think in this case, you have to go back at the very, very, very beginning of the entire presentation when you are understanding the goal and the expected result. So if the goal is to earning more money, and if the goal is, or it is the expected result that the revenue is going to be increased, then in this case, that particular feature is going to have the higher priority. If your goal is something different, for example, like to give some extra services for your high-value client, then in this case, you will over-prioritize those features which you might not receive that much money, but your high-value client going to be more satisfied. And at the end of the day, maybe it relates to money also. So it's depending on your goal.
Important.
It's all coming from the stakeholders. So they know what they want to reach, and you can help them with all the questions during the interviews. So it's, as a product responsible, it's not your responsibility to decide what is the goal with the product. It's the responsibility of the owner of the whole project. It can be the client, it can be the stakeholder, of course. You're welcome.
Hi, Patricia. Have you ever had any situation where let's say you have multiple stakeholders who cannot agree about the goal of the feature, or they cannot agree about the importance of the feature?
Yes, last time, I think today, when I heard it. Yes, of course. The more stakeholder you have, usually they have different goals, different KPIs. In this situation, what you can do is gather them together and let them decide. So you don't have any other tool in your hands. It's like, let them fight for it. You can moderate this discussion, facilitate this discussion, asking the good questions. Maybe through the dynamic of the discussion, you will understand that some of the guys is just like emotional thing because they want to compete with another guys. So if you understand these things, you have to listen for them. And if you understand these power issues between them, maybe you can ask a question and they will say, okay, you are right. Another feature is more important. If they still cannot agree, of course, somehow you have to prepare them a plan. And this is what I'm usually doing, is preparing a reasonable plan. This is my proposal because this feature creates value earlier, or this feature is increasing your revenue with 1% more or higher. So this is my proposal. And usually for them, since everyone was listened, they will say, yes, it's fine, it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you for a great presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, here's a question. According to your experience, whose work is it, this decomposition, evaluation, sorry, not evaluation, but clarifying and prioritization? Is it a work of product manager or analyst?
Thank you for the question. I think it has different levels. So the prioritization itself, it has to happen at the product management level because they are closer to the business. They will understand why this is more important compared to another. But when it comes to decomposition, the product owner can gives you direction. Like first, I need this column in the report, and I don't want to download it because it's enough if a backend developer in every second day is just extracting from the database. When it comes to decomposition, I think it's the business system analyst who has to understand how the services are communicating each other. So it's more like in a technical way. Decomposing the feature itself, it's the product manager, product owner, but they are working closely together with the business system analyst. Is it an answer for your question?
Yes, definitely.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Oh, we
here.
have one more. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. So I have one question, like sometimes your stakeholder are in so hurry that they ask the things, the requirement, and you know, okay, these are the steps you can proceed, and then after you can fulfill their requirement, but they have even the pressure and they don't want to like take so much of time. Then in that condition, how we can handle?
In this case, I would revert back for that question what the gentleman there asked and propose for them. So maybe they don't have anything in their mind, they just have a problem and they don't care about execution, they only care about money. How much does it gonna cost for me and when it's gonna be done? Usually that's the two things what they care about. So in this case, since you're a professional product manager, you can create them a roadmap with the timelines, with the estimations, and tell them this is what I can offer for you. And they either accept it or not, but at least you have something. And then they don't need to build it up from the very beginning. So when I mentioned you, for example, the Moscow method, it's not what you are giving as a homework for them that go home, please, and do it. It's definitely not. You have to come together and have them. So maybe they don't even really need to know that it's the Moscow technique. You just need to ask the questions. What do you really need? What you must have in the system? They will not know. But based on your questions, they will slowly understand this. Okay, if I'm delivering to you only the drop down with the report at the back office, is it already enough for your colleagues? And if you say, yeah, it's correct, it's already enough. And when can I create statistics about it? And then you will be able to tell them, in the next round, we're gonna extend, and then we're gonna send out the notifications, and then it's gonna be connected together with the stock. And at the very end, you will be able to create statistics out of it. So it approximately means that in a month, you will receive the result. If it's fine with you. If it's not, you can change everything here, and it's slightly changing the delivery time also, but it's depending on you. And if they're saying, yes, it's perfect, then you are done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, a good question about the timeline. How do you work with the situation when you need to provide the timeline, and usually it's a little bit circled, because to provide the timeline you need estimates. To provide estimates you need requirements. And so how do you usually deal with this one?
Exactly. This is always this circle that you are saying to the client to make possible to give you the timeline I need to understand, but they don't have time for it to detail you the business need. So in this case, what you can do, again, ask your questions and then trying to slightly understand on high level. And then do not, with the developers, you're going back, you are presenting this whole structure. If it is on a project base, let's say that your client is external client and you don't have anything. So you need to build up everything from the scratch. Then you can estimate with the developers that it's approximately S, it's approximately M, approximately L. Why is it good? It's because it's a relative size, which they are comparing to another project, which happened in the past. And you already know that approximate S estimation is going to take 2 sprints for the guys, 2 to 3 sprints for the guys. And M is 3 to 4, for example. So you will be able to tell to the clients that it's not that it's gonna be done on the 2nd of June, but it's gonna be done until the mid and the end of June somewhere. And usually stakeholders saying for this, that's fine.